Yo guys, what is up? Moxsy on Wonderlands video, and today is a big day. Today is the Steam launch of Wonderlands, alongside it a launch of the new Mirror of Mystery DLC, and huge changes. We have one of the biggest patch notes we have received with a lot of fixes, a lot of buffs, a lot of nerfs, and today we're going to break down everything you guys need to know. If y'all do enjoy the video, be sure to drop a like, comment, and subscribe on that, guys. Let's get right into it. So we're starting out with one of the biggest changes, and that is that they are increasing the Chaos Chamber cap from 35 to 50. We are getting a 15 level Chaos Chamber increase, or a Chaos cap increase. I'm going to be honest, I don't think that's needed, but I'm going to save my opinions for like the end of the video, and for now I just want to get through all the changes first, and then we'll discuss. Also, I apologize if I stumble over my words a little bit. It's currently 3:20 a.m. here. Kind of saved making this video for the last second. All right, next up, they're adding a new Chaos Chamber boss run. So there's going to be a new type of run in the Chaos Chambers, which will feature bosses. I'm actually so excited for this. I think that's a great addition. People have been wanting that for a while. Next up, they're buffing the Wheel of Fate to drop more legendaries from each DLC and guaranteed pieces of gear. So like, for example, if you land on rings now, you're guaranteed 4 rings from the Wheel of Fate. So it should be dropping more DLC pieces of gear and guaranteeing more pieces of gear. So all good changes there. Next up, and by the way, this is a really long patch notes. I'm not going to be able to read everything here because there's a lot of small changes. I really just want to cover the big ones. I will have a link in the description to the full notes if you want to check them out for yourself. But some of the biggest ones are the Chaos Trial runs are now never random and loop through the same core set. Sometimes when you're doing your Chaos Trials, you would get random trials. They're all now fixed. So like Chaos Trial 42 will always have Drill as the final boss, for example. Next up, they say Chaos Chambers would not spawn as many enemies as we wanted. They're increasing the amount of enemies that are spawning in the Chaos Chambers. Again, they've been improving this throughout like a few fixes, and we're getting another change for more enemies in the Chaos Chamber. I always love seeing that. Next up, little inventory issue. They're fixing gear not correctly sorting by type. This was a little frustrating. They're also fixing some things with item cards in the bank not working. Always good changes there. The bank has been kind of a pain when it comes to like management and inventory management. Next up, in the DLC 1, they're changing the dogfish enemies that had like no name as their name. They are now being named. Kind of curious what their name is, but yes, that was non-intentional. The nameless sharks are now getting names, so all good things there. They also fixed loot dropping above the level cap. Sometimes that would happen. People would send me items that were higher level than they were. That is no longer going to be a thing. Next up, they're fixing guns that couldn't come anointed. They've done some fixes for this in the past. It now seems like every gun that should be able to become anointed will be able to come anointed, hopefully. They specifically list out the Thunder Anima, the Donkey, the Birthright, Goblin Repellent, and the Cow Con will be able to drop as enchanted and reroll in Brighthoof. I'm specifically excited for the Thunder Anima because that's actually a really, really cool AR. Next up, they're fixing the Bad Egg Ward, which was getting an unintentional 35% bonus dark magic damage to all melee attacks when its shield was depleted. That's no longer going to be a thing. Next up, they're saying that there was a bug that was causing the caustic melee hit to be able to be stacked multiple times, dealing unintentional additional damage. I was using caustic melees on a lot of my dot melee builds, so that is getting nerfed. The shell casing rings are getting fixed. These were not working. These are the rings that said like when you have low ammo, you're going to get a bonus. They weren't actually working, so this is fixed, and they're buffing them. So they're increasing the bonus while the gun is low on ammo from 50 to 66% bonus, and the threshold for the low ammo has been raised from 30% to 50%. AKA, whenever your gun is at half mag or more, or sorry, less, you're going to get a 66% bonus on the attributes on it. Next up, they're adjusting the live wire. Now, this is it's actually not a big change, but it is an important one, so I want to talk about it. So they say the live wire's lightning beam would scale its damage based on how long your ammo was, or how low your ammo was, with 0 damage doing the most damage. We've removed that scaling and balanced the beam to do the same amount of damage for what it would have done with no ammo. This is an overall buff, but made the gun perform a bit stronger than intended, so we're slightly reducing its damage. So they're reducing the Livewire's Chain Lightning beam damage by 12.5%, but now at any point in your magazine, you're going to be getting the full damage, aka like what it was before, 1-to-1 scaling of your melee hit with the lightning beam doing melee damage, and they're only slightly nerfing it. So I was kind of expecting the Livewire to get killed. If anything, the Livewire is now stronger because you're always going to be getting that max damage bonus from it, and it's going to be doing melee damage. So actually, I think this is kind of an overall buff for the Livewire because you can now be shooting it and not have to worry about it, and you're always going to be getting that damage bonus. So really, really cool change there. I'm actually pretty stoked for that. Next up, we've got some changes to some other skills. The Spellshot's imbued weapon skill, when you'd cast a spell, you would get an extra element on your weapons, and if you casted 2, it would stack. That wasn't stacking, so now that will correctly stack. Next up, this is a big change. Stabomancer's Contagion skill had a bug that would allow it to sometimes repeatedly apply status effects, leading to unintended amounts of damage. Now, I don't know if this is the death of the Contagion builds, but it very well could be. Contagion was actually one of my favorite setups in the game, so I'm hoping it's still really good after this, but Contagion was repeatedly applying multiple status effects over and over and over again if you had really high status effect chance and had high points into Contagion, leading to millions and millions and millions of damage. This skill alone could hit infinite damage cap and crash your computer, given like a theoretical infinite chaining. That is now being fixed to not be able to apply multiple status effects, so we'll see if Contagion is good, but I'm not overly hopeful for it. Next up, and this is a very interesting change, if you did not know, the Berserker's skill Blast Chill and the Graveborn skill Blast Gasp, two of the strongest skills, were not actually scaling with class power, meaning if you had 70% Graveborn power, that Graveborn power wasn't actually increasing the damage of Blast Gasp, and same thing for Berserker. And these skills were already some of the best skills in the game entirely, and now they are being changed to work and scale as intended. So Blast Chill and Blast Gasp just got huge buffs, meaning that they're going to be properly getting increased by your class power. Next up, they fixed Graveborn's Harvest skill, stacking unintentionally with the Shroomy companions. I've been waiting for them to fix this so that I could make a Graveborn companion build, and it's now fixed, so you don't have to worry about that like infinitely stacking, as well as the other dark magic damage skill that was stacking before. So Graveborn companion build should now hopefully be bug or damage bug free. Next up, we've got some weekly rotations. They're keeping the in-game mini-event Crystalline Chaos, which basically you just get a ton of crystals in the Chaos Chambers. And there's also a new featured run. If you did not know, Gearbox basically came to the community Discord of the Wonderlands Discord and asked people what kind of featured run they would want to have, and they let us vote on it. And basically what the community voted on was for every single room in the Chaos Chamber to all be mimics. So every single room in the Chaos Chamber is going to be filled entirely with mimics, and then Drill will be the final boss. Should be kind of crazy, cool thing there. And then we get into even more changes. Next up, they said that Parasite was not scaling properly when Chaos Mode was turned on, aka Parasite was too squishy, and now Parasite might be like really difficult to kill. I'm very interested in that. We shall see how difficult Parasite is. Parasite was kind of the community punching bag, or like the Grave Ward, the testing dummy, and it may no longer, well, it could be an even better testing dummy if it's really beefy now, but if it wasn't scaling with Chaos level, then it's now about to have a ton of health. Next up, huge spell buffs. There are a lot of spell buffs here. I'm going to read out some of the biggest ones. They increased the legendary barrel spell to have its status effect damage increased by 100%. Dazzler cooldowns reduced. Dazzler's damage is increased by 268%. Frozen Orbs damage is increased by 275%. Gelatinous Spear is getting its damage increased, its status effect damage increased, and its cooldown reduced. Glacial Cascade is getting its damage increased by 30%. Here's a huge one. Laser Hand, the sniper spell that hit like a noodle, is getting its damage increased by 525%. The Reviver spell is getting its damage increased, its damage scaling increased, and its cooldown reduced. Saw Blades are getting their damage and status effect damage increased. The Time Skip is getting its damage increased by 100%. Threads of Fate are getting increased by 50%. I'm going to keep an eye out on that one because Thread of Fate was honestly already strong. Inflammation spells are getting increased charges and status effect damage. And then Twister is getting buffed by 10%. Twister, I would have loved to see a little bit of a bigger buff than 10%. I think it's a really cool spell, but just kind of underwhelming. But 10% buff to Twister. Next up, we get into our class adjustments, and these are where things are going to get a little crazy. They are changing Spellshot, and they say, we have seen Spellshot being utilized as the premier damage dealing class since the launch. We're looking to keep that strength, but found that the additional stacked damage it can do with spell weaving was contributing to that imbalance, along with the amount of spell damage applied to guns from magic bullets. So they say that they're adjusting spell weaving from spell damage per stack from 10% down to 8%, so a 2% damage nerf per stack of spell weaving, and they're also adjusting magic bullets. They say they're adjusting the amount of spell damage that is applied to gun damage from 15% to 12.5%. Now, I'm going to be honest, magic bullets isn't good because it's percentage, it's good because it's its own unique multiplier in that it is its own multiplier for all of its gun damage. It's separate from all of your other gun damage increases, so having a huge gun damage increase of like 90% on of its own is a crazy damage increase. If that's not changing, if it's still its own unique damage multiplier for magic bullets, Spellshot is still going to be absolutely insane, and this change won't do much. If they're changing it to now be additive with all the other things, that would actually definitely hurt Spellshot's gun damage. But Spellshot is very strong. It's kind of been the strongest class for a while, so I'm happy to see some balance changes there. Next up, we've got some Clawbringer changes. Now, Clawbringer notoriously was getting like 1 to 2% damage increases. They have decided to give it some much bigger damage increases. We'll see. I still think Clawbringer's like biggest issue is that the synergies in the actual skill tree, not the numbers, but definitely increasing the numbers will help. But here are the changes for Clawbringer. So they're buffing Storm Smite, aka the Capstone's base damage by 33% buff to the Capstone. Next up, Blasphemous Favor, which is the skill that sends out fire and lightning ability damage orbs whenever you kill an enemy with a gun or a melee attack. That is getting its gun damage on kill increased by 25%, and the ability damage on melee kill is increased by 33%. And then lastly, Indomitable, which is the skill that whenever you would enter Save Your Soul and get bonus lightning damage instead of entering Save Your Soul, they reduce the cooldown from 120 seconds to 100 seconds. I really like the buff to the base damage of Storm Smite. I think it could have been a little bit more. We shall see. And Blasphemous Favor, definitely those orbs were hitting like a little bit like noodles. And Indomitable, all nice changes to the Clawbringer. I still don't think it's going to totally solve our Clawbringer issues. But with the Livewire still staying as strong as it is, and the Clawbringer being a great class to use the Livewire, Clawbringer Livewire combo could actually be really nice, and definitely a good class to use. Guys, that is going to do it for the changes. There are a lot of changes here, some that I didn't get to read. If you guys want to check out the full link to the notes, I will have that in the description for you. And yeah, some changes I liked, some changes I didn't like, some changes that I think are kind of unnecessary. I didn't think Contagion needed to be touched, honestly. It was a crazy skill, but it was only crazy when you really had the right gear and the really like perfect setup to actually make it do good things, and that gear was like really hard to get. I do think that the Spellshot changes are warranted. Spellshot was crazy. It's been crazy. I hope the Clawbringer buffs make the Clawbringer feel better, because that character has been very underperforming compared to some other classes. And yeah, guys, Chaos Chamber increase, not a huge fan of that, but we shall see. I'm going to be playing all of the changes, the new DLC. I know some people are frustrated with the structure of the quote DLCs that have been included in this season pass. This one seems to be more of an arena-based DLC, so we'll be trying that out, and I'll be dropping my opinions and review on that DLC with that content. So yeah, guys, lots of changes, some good, some bad, some really good, some unwarranted, and yeah, if you guys want to leave your opinions down in the comments, I always appreciate you guys doing that. And I will be live on twitch.tv/Moxsy testing out all of the changes and grinding to Chaos 50. I will catch y'all on the next one, guys. Take care. Peace.